Dear viewers, greetings. In our last video, we discussed how to improve your relationship. Today, I would like to draw your attention to 11 signs that tell us it's time to leave a relationship. Happiness and peace cannot be achieved outside of our relationships with others. This famous phrase from Marcus Aurelius reflects the profound wisdom of Stoic philosophy and its approach to the role of relationships in our lives. They play an important role in determining our well-being and level of happiness. Stoicism, a school of philosophy that explores human nature and how to achieve well-being, offers us valuable lessons for building healthy and balanced relationships. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the world around us, but we can control our reactions to it. This also applies to our interactions with other people. We cannot change others, but we can change our attitude towards them. The Stoics believed that we should strive for mutual well-being, to establish harmonious relationships with the people around us. They encouraged us to build relationships based on fairness, kindness, and empathy. Stoicism's approach to relationships is based on respect for others and their freedom of choice. We must respect the rights and interests of other people, but we must not be dependent on their opinions or expectations. Our happiness should not depend on how others treat us or what they think of us. This does not mean that Stoicism denies the importance of close and friendly relationships. He actually states that when we build healthy and balanced relationships, we become happier and more relaxed. Interacting with other people can bring us joy, understanding, and support. But Stoicism warns us of the importance of not tying our happiness and peace to our relationships with others. We must approach them with an open heart and warmth, but not look to them for the sole source of our well-being. Ultimately, our happiness must come from within ourselves. The philosophy of Stoicism helps us realize that our relationships with others are an important aspect of our lives, but they are not the sole focus of our lives. We can strive for harmony in our interactions with others while remaining independent and self-reliant. So, happiness and peace can indeed be achieved through relationships with other people. But Stoicism teaches us that our inner wisdom and ability to control our reactions are key to achieving true well-being. By immersing ourselves in this philosophy, we can learn to build healthy and balanced relationships and take responsibility for our own happiness. 1. Recognize relationships that are holding back growth. As a Stoic, I realize that man exists for man, as Seneca said. This phrase carries a deep meaning and reflects one of the basic truths of Stoic philosophy. For me, the first step to understanding Stoic wisdom in relationships is recognizing and realizing our interconnectedness with other people. We cannot live in isolation, only for ourselves. We live in a society that is made up of interactions and relationships. Our destiny and well-being are inextricably linked with the people around us. When we recognize this interconnectedness and realize that we exist not only for our own good, but also for the good of others, we open ourselves up to growth and development. We understand that our actions and decisions have an impact not only on our own lives, but also on the lives of others. Becoming a conscious participant in this relationship means accepting responsibility for your actions and their consequences. This means being willing to serve others by helping and supporting them when needed. However, recognizing relationships that hold back growth does not eliminate the need for self-evaluation and self-development. A Stoic understands that in order to be useful to other people, you must first take care of yourself. We must strive to achieve wisdom and improve our character to become better versions of ourselves. However, Stoics approach relationships with a certain amount of restraint. We understand that each person is responsible for their own life and their own decisions. We cannot control other people or their actions. Instead, we must accept the fact that some relationships and situations can hold back our growth and development. This doesn't mean we should give up on relationships or avoid conflict. Stoics recognize the importance of understanding and accepting situations as they are. We try to find ways to adapt and grow despite any limitations or constraints. One way to stunt growth in a relationship may be to become attached to external circumstances or expectations. The Stoics recognize that our happiness should not depend on the achievements or recognition of other people. We learn to value and develop our inner qualities, such as virtue, wisdom, and justice. Being Stoic does not mean being indifferent or insensitive to other people's feelings. Instead, it means being more empathic and understanding. Stoics learn to listen and be supportive to other people, even if we cannot change their circumstances. Recognizing the relationships in our lives and realizing our interconnectedness with others is the first step to understanding Stoic wisdom. We recognize that man exists for man, and that our destiny and well-being are inextricably linked to the people around us. However, we also understand that not all relationships are conducive to our growth, and we must be prepared to be constrained while still striving to grow and strive for wisdom. 2. Difficulties in relationships. Difficulties in relationships are an integral part of our lives, and Stoicism teaches us to accept them as something inevitable. As the philosopher Epictetus said, "No wisdom can be achieved without struggle. It is through struggling with difficulties that we find the path to deep wisdom and development." Perhaps relationships become a source of many trials and unmet expectations for us. We constantly face conflicts, disagreements, and troubles. But instead of avoiding these difficulties, Stoicism teaches us to accept them, realizing that they are inevitable, and understanding them lies the key to our development. True growth and development in relationships requires constant effort and strength of character. It's important for us to realize that things won't always be easy and smooth, and that's okay. Our task is to be prepared for difficulties and not to look for ideals. Stoicism teaches us that our reactions to the difficulties and disappointments that arise in relationships determine our condition and our future. We can choose to struggle and gradually develop our skills in interacting with other people, or we can squander this opportunity and remain stagnant. When we realize that difficulties are not obstacles, but rather opportunities for growth, our relationships take on a new dimension. We begin to see opportunities for self-improvement and emotional resilience. We find strength in inner steadfastness and the ability to accept things as they are. Stoicism takes us back to our roots, to the foundations of our values and ideas of wisdom. He teaches us to find in difficulties not only challenges, but also opportunities for our growth and progress. After all, it is through struggle and endless efforts that we can improve and get closer to the ideal. Therefore, as a Stoic, we accept difficulties in relationships as a normal part of our journey. We do not retreat from difficulties, but find true meaning and meaning in them. And most importantly, we see them as a chance not only for personal growth, but also for strengthening our relationships with other people. 3. How to deal with negative emotions with Stoic wisdom. Negative emotions are an inevitable part of the human experience. Avoiding them completely is almost impossible, but Stoicism gives us the wisdom to cope with and manage negative emotions. Epictetus said, "It is not things that amaze us, but our attitude towards them." This is the main idea of Stoicism. It is not events themselves that influence our lives, but our perception and reaction to them. The Stoics teach us to realize that the emotions and reactions we experience do not determine the essence of events. We choose how to react to them. This awareness allows us to look at the situation from the other side and find ways to overcome negative emotions. Instead of giving in to fear, anger, or anxiety, Stoics encourage us to apply Stoic principles and approach events with a calm, rational mindset. Stoic wisdom helps us realize that many of the emotions and reactions we experience come from our internal beliefs and expectations, and not from the event itself. For example, if we feel disappointed or hurt, it may be due to incorrect assumptions or incorrect expectations of other people or situations. The Stoics encourage us to reconsider our beliefs and expectations in order to accept events as they are, without excessive emotional reactions. It is important for a Stoic to develop their ability to introspect and take responsibility for their emotions. We can practice internal reflection to understand why we react to situations in certain ways and how our beliefs and meanings influence our emotions. We can then make changes in our attitude to create more harmonious and healthy relationships. It is also important to realize that not everything is in our control, and some events are beyond our control. The Stoics encourage us to accept this uncertainty and focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions. We can learn to control our emotions, choose our response to events, and focus on inner peace and well-being. Stoic wisdom helps us overcome and manage negative emotions to create a more peaceful and mindful existence. When we realize that it is not events that amaze us, but our attitude towards them, we gain the freedom of choice to choose wisdom and calm over an emotional reaction. This is the path to a harmonious and happy relationship with yourself and with others. 4. Dangers of manipulation and control. Manipulation and control are two powerful weapons often used in relationships. They can cause significant damage to our self-esteem, self-sufficiency, and ability to make decisions. But Stoicism offers us a wise solution to be more aware and protect our personality from these dangers. As Seneca, the great Stoic, said, "No one can humiliate us except our own mind." These words reflect the importance of internal control over your thoughts and emotions. We Stoics understand that our well-being and happiness should not depend on external circumstances or the opinions of other people. We must maintain our own integrity and maintain freedom of choice in our relationships. Manipulation is an attempt to influence us in order to achieve their interests or control us. It can manifest itself in many forms, from manipulative behavior of a partner to sophisticated psychological tactics. However, Stoics, understanding their uniqueness and self-worth, decide not to succumb to the influence of these manipulations. With awareness, we can detect such manipulations and resist them. We learn to distinguish between true support and harmful influences. We know that no one person has the right to control our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Control is another powerful force that must be understood and limited. When someone tries to control us, they take away our freedom of choice and prevent us from being ourselves. But Stoics do not allow anyone to influence their personality. We believe in our strength and self-knowledge, and will never allow anyone to limit our capabilities or violate our individuality. The desire for control and manipulation sometimes relates to our own behavior. We may try to control other people to get the outcome we want. But the Stoics offer another way. We must learn to accept things as they are and stop striving for illusory forms of control. Being Stoic also means being open to the dangers of manipulation and control that may appear in our relationships. We must be vigilant and not allow these dangers to define us. Through Stoicism, we can learn to distinguish between manipulative behavior and true understanding and support. We should strive for harmonious and healthy relationships where manipulation and control have no place. Stoicism teaches us that our worth does not depend on the opinions of others or on our ability to control others. We must get used to being free and maintaining our own integrity, not being subject to the negative influences of the outside world. Ultimately, being Stoic means accepting who we are, our strengths and weaknesses, our desires and fears. This means truly loving and accepting ourselves as we are, and not giving in to manipulation or control that may come along the way. So, as a Stoic, we choose to be mindful, make our own decisions, and maintain freedom of choice. No one can humiliate us if we do not give them this right. We stand guard over our integrity and maintain our spiritual freedom. Ultimately, being a Stoic is a self-expression of strength, intelligence, and steadfastness. We reject the dangers of manipulation and control and choose the path of awareness and freedom. This path may be difficult, but it leads to deep and abiding happiness. 5. Identify harmful relationship dynamics. Relationships based on control and dependence create suffering. Epictetus, the great Stoic, in these few simple phrases, points out the depth of the problems that humanity often faces in interpersonal interactions. Harmful relationship dynamics can cause us a lot of harm and suffering. When one party tries to control the other, depriving her of freedom and self-expression, this leads to a loss of balance and harmony. Often such a controlling party forgets about the right of each person to his own opinion and choice, and instead of building relationships on mutual understanding and support, he comes into the life of another with the goal of controlling him. Suffering does not only occur on the controlled side, who gradually loses himself in expectations and tries to meet other people's demands. The controller is also required to constantly monitor and intervene, which gives rise to internal uncertainty, fear of losing control over the surrounding situation and keeping all important decisions in his hands. The desire for control and dependence is a manifestation of weakness and insecurity. Stoicism will help us become aware of such patterns and teach us to build relationships based on mutual cooperation, respect, and freedom. The Stoics teach us to accept fate and other people as they are, without trying to change them according to our own expectations. They recognize everyone's right to individuality and freedom of choice, as well as the ability to make decisions and take responsibility for them. When faced with harmful relationship dynamics, the Stoic does not expect those around him to conform to his ideas and desires. He accepts the situation as it is and tries to find a solution that is fair and mutually beneficial for all parties. By letting go of the desire to control and dominate, he frees himself from the chains of suffering and strives for harmonious, healthy relationships based on mutual understanding, respect, and freedom. Stoicism is a philosophy that helps us achieve inner freedom and harmony. In the context of relationships, the Stoics instruct us to work on ourselves and develop emotional self-control so that we can be independent of the opinions and behavior of others. They encourage us to realize that we only have control over ourselves, over our thoughts, emotions, and actions. This control is our main source of strength and confidence. However, Stoicism should not be understood as avoiding problems and relationships. Rather, it is a challenge to develop and grow through overcoming difficulties without undue control and imposing your will on others. To be a Stoic is to be flexible, empathic, and able to resolve conflicts in a non-violent manner. Harmful relationship dynamics based on control and dependence cause suffering for us and our loved ones. Stoicism helps us become aware of these patterns and learn to build relationships based on mutual cooperation, respect, and freedom. By developing the principles of Stoicism, we can achieve inner harmony and create healthy, harmonious relationships not only with others, but also with ourselves. 6. Mutual respect. Constant progress and evolution of relationships are an integral part of human life. One of the important aspects that helps us create a healthy and prosperous environment is mutual respect. Stoicism, a philosophy that develops wisdom and justice within us, helps us better understand and treat others with understanding, tolerance, and fairness. The quote from Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," serves as a guide for how we behave and treat others. Mutual respect is not only a principle, but also a fundamental rule by which we can build better relationships with everyone around us. When we treat others with understanding, we recognize their uniqueness and not only empathize with their joys and sorrows, but also try to understand their thoughts and feelings. We take into account their worldview and their experiences, no matter how different they are from ours. Mutual respect requires us to be open and willing to dialogue, and we try to learn from other people, their wealth of experience and wisdom. Tolerance is also an integral part of mutual respect. We understand that everyone has their own beliefs, values, and preferences, but this does not stop us from being polite and fair in our interactions with them. We do not judge, condemn, or disparage other people because of their differences. On the contrary, we try to find common ground and build mutual understanding, seek common interests, and make the world around us a better place for everyone. Fairness is also an important aspect of mutual respect. We treat others fairly and with respect for their rights and dignity. We oppose inequality and discrimination and try to promote fair solutions to problems. Mutual respect requires us to follow moral standards and ethical principles that enable us to create harmonious and fair relationships in our society. When we practice mutual respect, we build a foundation of trust and support that contributes to our happiness and well-being. Through our behavior and attitudes, we can inspire and influence others, creating positive chains of reactions. Mutual respect is not only a gift we give to others, but also a gift we receive in return. Ultimately, mutual respect is an integral part of our personality and habits. It helps us be the best versions of ourselves and make positive changes in our relationships and the world. The Stoics show us the importance of mutual respect and instruct us to follow these norms in order to create a world where everyone can live happily and in harmony. 7. Reality versus illusions in relationships. Assessing reality is the first step to wisdom, says Epictetus, one of the most famous philosophers of the Stoic school. Indeed, illusions and misconceptions about our relationships can greatly damage their quality. Stoicism offers us a different approach, to be in harmony with reality and accept our relationships as they are, rather than creating illusions or expecting perfection. Stoicism will teach us to see relationships without rose-colored glasses, without exaggeration and false hopes. This does not mean that we should be indifferent to relationships or not set goals for ourselves. Stoicism is more of a call to objectively assess reality and recognize that our relationships can be complex and unpredictable. Instead of striving for the perfect partner or the perfect relationship, Stoics encourage us to love and accept our partners despite their flaws and imperfections. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control other people and their actions, but we can control ourselves and our reactions. In a relationship, this means that we must accept our partner as he is, without trying to change him or expecting something from him that he cannot or will not give. We must learn to appreciate and accept our relationships in any form, even if they are far from perfect. Stoicism will also teach us how to manage our emotions and reactions to situations that arise in our relationships. It will allow us to realize that our emotions often distort reality and can lead to erroneous judgments. We must learn to be calm and rational in relationships, even when faced with difficulties or disappointments. Stoicism invites us to accept the inevitability of change and imperfection. He emphasizes that everything around us is always changing, including our relationships. We cannot expect everything to remain the same, and we must be prepared for the possibility that our relationships may evolve and change over time. So, let Stoicism be our guide in the world of relationships. Teach us to accept reality and love our partners regardless of their shortcomings. May he help us to be in harmony with ourselves, others, and the world as a whole, realizing that illusions and the pursuit of an ideal can only interfere with our happiness and well-being. 8. Non-negotiables, values and reciprocity. Virtue is the same for everyone. These words of Marcus Aurelius ring deep and have special meaning for the Stoics. In the concept of Stoicism, values and reciprocity play a fundamental role in our relationships with people and the world at large. The pursuit of virtue is the pursuit of wisdom, justice, courage, and any other virtue that helps us achieve harmony with our inner self and the world around us. Virtue also means having moral principles that guide our thoughts, words, and actions. When we talk about reciprocity, we are talking about interaction with other people and the world at large. Reciprocity is an integral part of Stoic philosophy. We must try to maintain reciprocity in our relationships, not only with people, but also with the environment. Reciprocity means being fair and treating others fairly. It requires us to be honest, patient, compassionate, and maintain emotional balance. Reciprocity also means that we treat the environment with respect and care. The strict moral code of Stoicism will teach us to adhere to high moral principles. It will guide us to be better versions of ourselves and improve our relationships with others. Stoicism also instructs us to keep our emotions in check and respond to situations with patience and balance. The values and reciprocity that are at the core of Stoic philosophy will help us create harmonious and happy relationships with everyone around us. They will guide us through moral dilemmas and help us build strong and trusting bonds with others. Stoicism is a path to wisdom and harmony that embraces values and reciprocity. By adhering to high moral principles and paying attention to mutual relationships, we rise to the next step in our development and on the path to happiness. 9. Combating abuse and poor communication. Dealing with abuse or poor communication can be challenging for any of us. However, if we apply the principles of Stoicism, we can learn to respond more constructively to such situations and not allow them to undermine our inner balance. The philosophy of Stoicism focuses on controlling our thoughts, emotions, and reactions to external events. The Stoics believe that our internal states do not depend on external factors, but on our own perception and understanding of the world around us. This is their strength and our path to peace and harmony. When faced with abuse or poor communication, the first step of Stoicism is to recognize that we cannot control the actions and behavior of other people. We can only control ourselves and our reactions to these situations. Instead of reacting emotionally or aggressively, we must learn to look at a situation objectively and notice how it affects us. Stoicism suggests that we challenge ourselves to accept our mistakes and failures as opportunities for personal growth and development. Instead of looking for someone to blame or complaining about fate, we should think about what we can learn from this situation in order to improve our character. According to Epictetus, a wise person does not feel shame or self-righteousness because he recognizes that mistakes and failures are not something beyond his control, but how he responds to them is his responsibility. The Stoics teach us to take an abstract and objective view of any situation, including negative ones. They encourage us to learn from our mistakes, but not to remain stuck in the past or stuck in guilt, wasting our energy on regrets. Instead, we must move forward while maintaining our values and dignity. Thus, facing abuse and poor communication is a test that we can face with dignity and wisdom if we apply the principles of Stoicism. We cannot change the past, but we can control our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, and this makes us strong and wise. 10. Looking for peace of mind in relationships. Life has taught me 1,000 lessons, and I have become a true master in the art of finding peace in my relationships. What is behind this philosophy that has interested me for life? As a Stoic, I am learning to live in a wide variety of situations, devoid of stress and unnecessary emotions. Some people believe that in search of happiness, you need to enjoy every moment, draw joy from things and events. However, at its core, happiness is not found in pleasure, but in the absence of suffering. A quote from Epictetus, an ancient Roman philosopher, completely describes my worldview. Our well-being lies in the ability to part with suffering, not to become attached to external material things, and to seek inner harmony. Why do we so often indulge in thoughts of achieving success in relationships and personal lives through accumulating wealth or pursuing ambitious goals? Why do we measure our success and level of happiness based on what we have or who we are in the eyes of others? Stoicism taught me the simplicity of peace within ourselves. This philosophy taught me to recognize what I cannot control in my life and accept it without resistance. Instead of fighting the current of life, I teach myself to swim in it. I realize that happy relationships and true well-being come when we accept the world as it is, and not as we would like it to be. Relationships based on Stoicism are filled with peace and harmony. Indifference to small things that can lead to conflict allows us to see the big picture and appreciate the precious things that really matter. We stop demanding changes from our partner in ourselves or in the world around us, and we begin to work on ourselves, on our inner state. Stoicism gave me the path to true happiness. He opened my eyes to the fact that true satisfaction and joy come when we stop measuring ourselves by things and roles and begin to appreciate the simple joys of life. Being in harmony with yourself and the world around you, not being attached to exorbitant expectations and demands. These are the key aspects of Stoic thinking that I discovered for myself. So, in seeking peace and balance in my relationships, I am not afraid to give in, be gentle, and be open to the fact that not everything may go the way I intended. I develop flexibility of thinking and the ability to accept the flow of life rather than resist it. This is how I find true happiness and peace, which many seek but do not always find. And I am glad to share this knowledge with those who also seek to find themselves in their own relationships. We cannot change everything that happens around us, but we can change ourselves and our attitude towards this world. And this is where the great power of Stoicism lies. 11. Take action. The main thing is not words, but deeds. So spoke the famous Stoic Seneca, and his words remain relevant and wise to this day. Stoicism is a philosophical movement that offers us valuable lessons and wisdom for building healthy and happy relationships. However, to truly experience progress and change in our lives, we must not only understand these principles, but also actively put them into practice. Building healthy and happy relationships begins with our ability to self-control and self-regulate. The Stoics teach us to accept events and people as they are, without unreasonable resistance or expectation. This is the basis of our emotional stability and ability to understand other people. Stoicism also promotes the idea that we do not control all events in our lives, but we do always control how we react to them. This means that we can choose our view and attitude towards what is happening. We can choose to view the situation as an opportunity for personal growth and development, rather than as an obstacle in our path. Additionally, Stoicism emphasizes the importance of introspection and self-determination. He encourages us to be aware of our values and principles, and to strive to live up to them in our lives. This helps us make informed decisions and be more autonomous in our thinking and actions. However, we are challenged to not only understand Stoic philosophy, but also to apply it in our daily lives and interactions with others. It takes persistence and practice. For example, we can practice the ability to control our reactions to various situations, practice emotional stability, and the ability to be strong even in difficult moments. We can also learn to develop our empathy and ability to understand and support other people. Only through constant practice and application of Stoic principles can we achieve harmony and well-being in our relationships. It requires self-discipline and constant growth, but the results are definitely worth all the effort. By being Stoic, we can become better versions of ourselves and make real progress in our relationships, ourselves and others. If you relate to this philosophy and share the teachings of Stoicism, please show your support by clicking the like button and subscribing to my channel. I appreciate your participation and want you to stay updated with my new videos and news. Don't forget to click on the bell so you don't miss my next videos. With respect to you, and see you in new videos.